I'm Ron Willett. Welcome to Whiskey and Wireless. We're going to sit down with industry professionals, have spirited discussions, and talk about what shaped the wireless industry and why we are where we are today and where we're going to be tomorrow. So imagine an instrument panel, right? And there's a thing, an instrument panel, and it's got to the red here. Here is normal, here is hobby, here's obsession, and here is I really need help. So with racing, and in particular endurance racing that I know you love, where are you at in that spectrum of?
I'm obsessed is probably the word, but I've been around racing since I was a kid. I think most people that race any form of motorsport are all in some way brought into the fold and maybe infected is the right word,
right,
as a youngster. And my father raced, and I've been around racing since I was very young. And from the time that I could drive legally and race, I have been. And but to do that, it's not a cheap hobby.
It's not a cheap hobby. No, you could have picked a much cheaper one.
Well,
yes.
But to be able to do that, we didn't have a lot of money. So being able to do the work yourself was absolutely essential. It wasn't optional. So building engines and at the time, building boats and other things. That's how I grew up. So, and that's just carried on through my life. So that's really become, for me, that's the escape from work.
Right.
And very much enjoy that and always have.
And every now and then it's part of work because I remember you had me come down and go to Charlotte. And we went to the racetrack for a race, and there was a bunch of us there. You were nice enough to invite a bunch of people. I got thrown in at the last minute, right, because there was a cancellation, which I loved. And we were in a suite, and I can, raise my finger and drink whiskey with the best of them, and I'll do it now. But we were in the suite watching the race for a little bit, and you're like, you know what? I want to go down. I want to check things out. I want to be in the pit. And so we got to go down and go to the pit during the race, and they're blowing off rubber and doing all this stuff in the pits, and you're explaining racing to me, and I just thought it was super cool. I think we walked maybe 10 miles that day to every corner, every turn, and talking about racing, which I know nothing about, by the way.
I was going to say that was a really fun event. I love being able to talk about. Yeah, racing's it's probably the most. It's not seen as a team sport. A lot of the focus is on the driver, but most of the success comes from the teamwork and the work that you don't see behind the scenes and the work before the race. It doesn't happen at the race. The race is a product of the work that was done before. So to me, it's a lot like business. You've got to have a great team around you. It's not really at all about the individual, and a lot of it is about the work, the grind, that you're doing day to day, and that's certainly the case with racing. That's why I think it's a great metaphor for business, and that was a fun event. I was super impressed that you. I think you were the only taker to to actually walk for what was a long time. Man, we covered a lot of miles.
We did cover a lot of miles.
That was a lot of fun.
But it was super cool to learn and to see your passion for it, and then how that translated into your passion for Netnumber and the wireless industry and all of that, and attention to detail, which is obviously so important, in our business, but also in racing. So.
Yeah.
And then you have a team yourself, right? Of racing, you do 24-hour endurance stuff.
Yeah, so we've there's three of us that are in the current in the team that we have. So we endurance race a car a few times a year, and that's it's 16 hours over the weekend. So two races, a race on Saturday, a race on Sunday, and they're 7 to 8 hours, depending on the weekend each day. So 14 to 16 hours, non-stop. They're great events, and really enjoyable. So that's how we can afford to get it done is work together and have the three of us in there.
And we were talking a little bit before, and you mentioned you were married, which I would not have bet given that hobby. So you must have a very understanding wife.
I do. My wife's very understanding, and it's always surprising. And between the racing and the travel for work, we're a fully remote business. So we all spend a lot of time on the road, and we're a global business as well. So
right.
Just about every week, if not every week, recently, we find ourselves on the road somewhere in the world. So it's pretty demanding between the hobby and work. But it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure. And you do, I know you go to a lot of the Mobile Economic Forum events. And so, they have a bunch of events that are, like you said, all over the world. And you probably go to even more than that. So it can be demanding for sure.
Yeah.
So, my experience with Netnumber, we use, I think you guys call it the NNSR now. It used to be called the OSR, right?
That's right.
And something you probably don't know is it kind of changed our business a lot, right? So our business was doing A to P to small regional MNOs. That's what we do. But we started getting into this OTT space, right? And the OTTs were a little weird and a little different. And, they didn't always, they have an NNID, and then you have to route to that. And maybe, bandwidth owns a number, but Pinger owns the messaging or whatever it is. And the OSR or the NNSR would tell us who kind of to route these messages to and what to do. And it really did change our business for the better. I mean, it really marked an upward surge in what we do. So we really value the tool that you guys have. And I don't know that I ever mentioned that to you, but it really has been a very important part of what we do.
No, first of all, I appreciate the shout out, and very glad that we can help out. We've been part of the plumbing of the industry for a long time now, well over 20 years. The company was founded originally back in the late 90s in just near Boston, just north of Boston. And over that time, we've really become part of the infrastructure in North America, and we've done a really great job at telling no one what we do over that time. So we've over the last few years, we spun out and we sold our software business back in I think it was 2022 now. And then from there, the data business, as we refer to it, and that's a little bit of a misnomer, but the data business has really kicked on. So the NNSR that you mentioned is a core part of our business, and it's certainly fundamental to the messaging infrastructure in North America. But what's not that well known about that infrastructure is it really does support a whole lot of different use cases. So people may know about it from an A to P perspective or one particular use case or another.
Right.
But from the collective number of use cases that it supports continues to grow, and it's very, very much a foundational part of the North American ecosystem. And interestingly, we've got a global network. We've got a global customer base. What's interesting, particularly when it comes to fraud, whilst fraud is prevalent everywhere, North America does not suffer from some of the types of fraud that is prevalent in other parts of the world, and that's due in large part to the role that we play with the NNSR. So there's a lot of things that we do with that registry. That's a core part of our business. It's not the only part of our business. We're really a global network operator that supplies telecom data to the industry globally. But that NNSR certainly is unique, and there's monetization of different products and services in North America that does not happen in other parts of the world. So that's some of what we're doing is evangelizing that message in other parts of the world, and trying to help solve the fraud puzzle, as well as help other geographies unlock some of the value that we've seen here in North America. Yeah,
well, I can talk to other people in different regions. My competitor doesn't need to know everything I do about it here in the U.S., but it definitely has made a really big difference in our business. So I appreciate that. So getting ready for our sit down, We do an extensive research here at the Whiskey and Wireless podcast.
That sounds ominous.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We do. We do. And you're from Australia, and we got that right away. So I looked at movies made in Australia, and Mission Impossible 2 was there,
Yeah.
and but I hadn't seen 1, so we watched 1, 2, and 3, and then we ran out of time. But I did see that, and so Sydney, is that where you're from, or?
I'm from just north of Sydney, a place called Newcastle, which is on the beach, about 2 hours north of Sydney. But spent a lot of time in Sydney, worked in Sydney for a long time. So before coming over here, so
the research was well done.
That was well done, and actually, I've got a very strange connection to Mission Impossible 2. The building that the Tom Cruise came out of the helicopter down into a building. In that movie,
right.
And the top of that building was the we were the first IP carrier in Australia. I was the co-founder of what became the third largest mobile carrier in Australia now, TPG Telecom, and the very first place that we put the first part of our network. Which became a national network, was in that building, Governor Phillip Tower, and that. That Mission Impossible movie where you see Tom Cruise coming in, that's right where we had our microwave antennas. So
had to be kind of proud of that, right?
That was pretty cool.
And I saw that it was you were a co-founder of that, and it came out to be 11,000 employees or something like that.
Yeah, 1,100. So for Australia is a pretty reasonable sized business. Yeah, I was originally I started my life actually in and around all of this sort of thing. I was in the broadcast television industry, and during the late 90s Telecom was deregulated, just like it was over here, and we were also shifting to digital broadcasting, and the CFO and I at the time somehow came up with this idea that we'd defray the cost of our digital TV implementation by starting a carrier business to sell essentially leased lines to these aspirant ISPs that needed capacity at the time. And it took off, and we became the first IP carrier, and then a couple of acquisitions later, didn't ever go back to the broadcast industry and found myself in telecom. So, that was an interesting ride, and that business was sold, and then I moved over here to the US in 2008 and made the transition from being on the essentially the network side to being on the vendor side. So I spent a couple of years with Cisco and then was recruited into Netnumber, and here I am.
On another ride.
So here I am.
17 years in the U.S. You go back frequently, I assume?
I go back, reasonably frequently for work. I was just there actually a couple of months ago, and heading back again for work here pretty soon. I've still got family. My family's there, so I like to get back independently of work. So it's just a long trip.
So we, me and my wife, we've been married 9 years and trying to figure out where we're going to go for our 10th year anniversary. And we discovered Europe a couple years ago, whatever, and been to some places. So one of the things I mentioned was Australia. I was in New York with my older son and my wife, and I said, thinking about maybe we could go to Australia. That'd be pretty cool. Found out that both of them have zero interest in going to Australia because they say that, like Florida, pretty much Florida has everything that'll kill you. Snakes, spiders, sharks, anything that can kill you, alligators, anything that can kill you is in Florida. They say Australia's like that, only everything's 10 times bigger than it is here. So Sydney, it's a nice place to visit, right?
Sydney's a great place to visit. There's a lot of great places. So if you're interested, I'll certainly hook you up with a few ideas.
Yeah.
But as long as you can read the signs and you obey the signs, don't swim where it tells you not to swim, you're in good shape.
You have man o' wars or great whites or
and crocodiles and other things. So
you do have everything that'll kill you in Australia.
But we're in most tourists make it out okay. So it's all pretty good.
Yeah. And then the other thing, when I talked about Netnumber, it's the people. even other than you, of course. So a real life example, literally 3 weeks ago, I got a call from a carrier who's with my competitor, and they couldn't figure something out. They had moved some numbers over to another network thing, and they were put in an ID that was landline, that whole thing, and they couldn't get A to P messages to their phones. And so he had called me and he said, I know you know kind of more about this stuff than my competitor does, which made me wonder why they don't have me, but that's fine. So I get those calls a lot. So I called John Coleman, who works at Netnumber. And, you guys are a client of mine, but this was for someone who wasn't a client. And, him and I talked, and he figured out what was going on, and even took the next step to call the carrier, and then took the next step to call the person who had put them in the wrong thing and get it fixed. And now all that is working. And I think that just speaks volumes to probably your leadership and also the company as a whole.
Yeah, thanks, Ron. I appreciate that. It goes back to what I said about motorsport. It's all about having the right team. So we actually we're just about to have one of our original founding employees retire after 25 years.
Oh, that's cool.
And he often refers to it as Hotel Netnumber. You can check out, but you can never leave. So I think that speaks volumes to the team. We've got a lot of long-term employees that have really stayed with us. And we're now, as I mentioned, a fully remote business, and that's challenging. We try to get everyone together a couple of times a year, but the team overall works together extraordinarily well and does an amazing job. And we exist in a part of the market that isn't really well known. The sort of things that we do and look after are a little esoteric and not very well known by the broader community. It's hard to find people that really truly understand the depths to which our infrastructure really plays the role that it plays in the industry. So super talented team, extremely deep in terms of their knowledge of signaling and all of the different areas of data within the industry, and very well regarded. So I really appreciate the feedback, and that's what we try to do. It's all about making customer service and making things work, and not just at a point in time. It has to continue to work. So uptime is key.
Yeah, and so with you going everywhere in the world, where's the one place that you go to that you're like, man, this is a place that I really love? And if it wasn't, can't be Australia, obviously, or Raleigh, which is, I know your home base now, but where is that one place?
Gee, that's a hard question to answer. There's a few places that I really enjoy. I enjoy Barcelona. I often am there, obviously, for Mobile World Congress, but as a city, I really enjoy being there. Also, have spent less time there recently, but Munich, Germany. We've got some folks in Munich, and I had a bigger team in the prior Netnumber before we sold the software business. So always enjoyed Munich. I think that's a great city.
Yeah.
Great beer, great food. If you like
beer.
pork.
Yeah, I like beer. So that works out well. Barcelona, I went to Mobile World Congress first time this year.
I remember that.
And I made the rookie mistake, which was I got in at 8 o'clock in the morning after having flown all night, but not really sleeping on the plane. Super tired. Hotel wasn't ready till 3 o'clock. So I dropped my suitcase off, and I went and bought a red bus pass, and I went up, put my hoodie on, got my earplugs in, and just went to sleep on the red bus for about 3.5 hours.
Oh,
So
wow.
I think if it comes down to it, if there's ever like a trivia for Barcelona, like it's all in there somewhere, all the knowledge, right?
It'll come out.
Yeah, it'll come out, but I got some good sleep. So
that's awesome. I haven't heard that one before.
Yeah, well, it's a little trick that you learn when your hotel room's not ready. But I do think we're going to go back because my wife didn't go with me, so we'll go back to Mobile World Congress next year and probably spend a little bit of time either before or after to kind of see some things.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it's a great city. There's so much to see, and it's a decent time of year to be there. So yeah, it's fun.
And then I was looking at your 6 values, right? You have 6 values at Netnumber, and one of them, one of them was the people, right? If I recall, right? Wasn't that one of your
That is one.
values? Yeah.
Yeah.
But there was another one called relentlessness, right? Was that or being relentless and in completing your job? So just talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we're again being a global business and being a small team, and again distributed. Yeah, one of the great things about being fully remote, there's a lot of great things. There are some downsides, but one of the great things is we can hire talent wherever it is, which is really important in terms of given the role we play in industry, it is hard to find the right people.
Right, because there's not a college degree, right?
Right,
that they come out and learn, and you got to replace these people who've kind of learned it through osmosis or whatever, and it becomes difficult.
And it comes back to what you said before. Yeah, focus on the customer and focus on getting the job done, quality, and really never giving up until that is done. So when we say we're going to do something, we do it, and just sticking with it and being relentless and getting the work done. We've just there's a few things that we're going to announce here shortly. We've a couple of major achievements here in the industry that we've made over the last few months that we'll certainly make an announcement about at the right time. But these things are huge achievements from a very small team comparatively, and we certainly punch above our weight in terms of what we do. So,
and how many employees do you have?
43 right now.
Oh, okay, great.
So global network. One of the, if not the largest, one of the largest suppliers of data to the industry globally, and certainly that is the case in North America. We run this registry. We've got a small team, but they're very powerful, and a lot of that comes from the start that we had with the prior instantiation of the business. We had when we sold off the software business, we were at around 300 employees at that point. So. We had a start in terms of the infrastructure that we have, but still to run this type of network as efficiently as we do, we're all cloud based now. We've started working in AWS back in 2017, well before it was popular in this industry.
And you guys were remote before.
This part
COVID
of the business has always been remote.
Yeah.
And it just lent itself to doing that. And even the software business, we had around half of that business was remote and half in an office pre-COVID. So, I think that relentlessness comes from making sure, having a small team, but really being focused on delivering quality product and understanding that our customers. It's a 24/7 business. You've got a business that it doesn't stop. Customers are running real-time networks, so we need to support that. And like I said, when we say we're going to do something, we do it, and we get it done. And that's part of the ethos within the business. So I'm really proud of that.
What are the downsides of the remote work that you talk about? I mean, what do you guys find difficult to do?
No cooler talk, as you say here in the US, right? No water cooler talk. It's hard. There's two things. It's having that exchange through osmosis. It's really tough. You get that when you work in an office, and you and I are probably of an age. I know you're a young guy, but we're probably of an age where we grew up working. Remote work wasn't a thing really, and
it was frowned upon.
It
right?
was certainly.
So
I just in fact had never really thought of it. Before I came to the US, it wasn't a thing for me at all in my career, and so that learning that you get, not just about work related things, but also. All sorts of social interactions that you get from being in an office is one. And the second one is I really do have a lot of concern over the younger generation coming into the workforce. More and more businesses now, hybrid work or remote work, it's really hard if you've got trying to employ young people straight out of school, straight out of college, that haven't had the benefit of social interactions in an office. that's something that we're very cognizant about. And it's hard.
It definitely is, because for me, it was a mindset of, my CTO used to say, when a company starts thinking meetings are work, that's when you know that they're in trouble, right?
Right.
And so that kind of always stuck in my head, right? That meetings equal too many meetings equal bad, but then when you're remote, especially as you get newer and newer people, like we're growing and growing, and we're constantly hiring now, and on a small scale, but we've more than doubled, almost tripled our workforce now in the last couple of years. And so bringing these people on is difficult to get them up to speed, especially as you say, it's not like we're doing something that people learn about in college or know about. They're like,
Right.
what do you mean? Those little messages that I get when I get an Amazon package and there's $1 billion industry behind that, like it blows their mind a little bit, right? And so you have to be always constantly teaching and going through all this. And it is something it's hard to get used to. It's a mindset, I think, that has to change.
Yeah, for sure. And we're certainly looking for we try to get everyone together as much as we can. It's tough given that our employees are literally all over the world. We
Right.
have a concentration here in the US, but some in Canada, and then some in Europe and other places. So you can only do that so many times a year, and then that takes you so far. So it's looking for ways to try and keep everyone engaged. Particularly the younger people coming in, which is essential.
Right. Yeah. That's it. Like you said, it's always a challenge. I ended up hiring my son just because he's been around it his whole life, so it was easy for me to bring him in, right? Because he knew what he was doing. When I looked at your bio too, I think I saw something about Harvard Business School. So did you go to Harvard, or what was that?
Continuing to learn, I think, is an important part of I think any career. I've certainly tried to I continuously am reading, as most of us are. I think you just from a work perspective, you're always engaged with
Right.
whether it's podcasts or whether it's reading material of any kind.
Let's hope it's
around when you
podcast. I mean, yeah, let's hope so.
yeah. So, but outside of that, trying to broaden your skill base and keep current with everything that's happening beyond just your the focus of your day-to-day work, I think is really important. So I've been fortunate enough to do a couple of different programs at both at Harvard. I just did one recently, in fact, a couple of weeks ago with a group led by a terrific guy out of Canada, an author, Craig Dowden, who got a group of us together for something he calls a positive leadership forum. So that's that was a terrific couple of days up there, and then I was fortunate enough to do something at Yale for a year. That was a few weeks on site over the period of the year, and then remote for the rest of the year. So that was something that was a global leadership program, and around I think there were around 60 of us from all over the world. So just fantastic to be able to be involved in something like that, just to broaden my view and skill base from outside of the telecom industry, just more in general terms, and be able to interact with people that I wouldn't typically interact with, and continue to build knowledge.
Does it help with your racing team as well, the leadership there? I mean,
I don't know about that. The couple of guys that I race with,
they're not
I'm
really
not
going to
so
listen to you
sure.
anyway.
No, we try, but no, we get along really well. But no, I think it's in fact the other way around. I think the racing is also instructive for work. It helps with reframing. I think is really important. That term and that as a skill, and motorsport certainly helps you reframe constantly.
Right.
So it's hard. It doesn't matter what type it is. It doesn't matter whether you're a NASCAR fan or Formula One or MotoGP or whatever it is. There's regardless of what amateur or professional. At any level, it's these things are hard to win.
For sure.
reframing is an important part of that journey. So
Yeah, and we've been doing it too in our industry, and I'm sure you guys have too. Well, you have because you split the companies and did all that and reframed, and Clear Sky's done the same thing since I've been in charge too in 2019, 2020 when we sold the company to private equity and, all the things that have happened since then, which have all been, very good. And you guys have a private equity experience too that's been very good. You hear so many bad things about it. It's nice when you have some good stories too. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Our guys have been great. The team at Abry have been terrific to work with, and so that put us on a much different path than we'd been able to be on previously as a smaller private company. So just another step in the journey. But everything's constantly changing. I think it's interesting. The industry. Globally, our industry has, I think, over the last 3 or 4 years, probably seen the most dramatic changes that it's ever seen.
Oh,
from the beginning of time, and
and my guess is we're going to continue to see that over the next couple of years.
I
as
think
RCS comes in and everything else that network APIs and everything that's going on our side alone, and I know a lot on your side and along with that. So
and then. You look at the impact of fraud and the impact fraud has had globally. It's amazing. You think about where budgets were directed previously and where they are now, and the change to the industry and the challenge that the industry has, and maybe the opportunities as well. There's a lot there. So it's a dynamic. Certainly a dynamic environment to work in. That's for sure.
Our goal is to help the carriers kind of keep that fraud and all of that so that the revenue can stay with the carrier instead of going outside of the carrier. So that's something that we're really focused on, is trying to help the carriers keep that revenue stream that they've created, because so many other companies just exist on their infrastructure and they don't get anything for it. Trying to keep that on the carrier side is definitely important for us.
Yeah, 100%.
Yep. Well, 30 minutes has gone by, so
that's hard
want
to
to thank you for coming by and flying in and doing this for us. I really appreciate it.
Right, it's great to catch up. No, thank you for the invite.
Yeah,
I really appreciate that.
No problem.
So,
and I'll see you at some other wonderful location. I think Hawaii is probably the next one for us.
Yeah.
So.
Sounds good.
All right.
Thanks very much.
All right.
Cheers.
Cheers.